hammer. You've probably seen one before. They live in many households. The technology of a hammer is about 2.5 million years old. You've maybe used one before, and it's probably been very good to you the few times that you have. But now you've been giving it room and board for about 10 years. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. It takes a lot of energy to shape resources into this form. If you look at it here, you have rubber. This is likely from Thailand or Indonesia. There's steel in the handle and the head. Maybe that's from Luxembourg or Japan. And when you gather those resources together, you have to heat forge them. And that's either using oil from sticky sand in northern Alberta or from war-torn Iraq, or it's coal from the US or China. Basically, it sounds like a lot of work to me, especially if after all of that, it hits 10 nails and lives in a basement or a garage gathering dust. It does a tremendous disservice and injustice to the resources that are now held in captivity in this final form. At every turn, we come up against the barriers of needless consumption. Waste, pollution, social violence. We reach towards the limits of our landfills and skirt the edges of the easily extracted oil or copper or whatever. We cannot deny that we live in an ownership society and that we are heavy with the weight of it. To be an owner, you must first buy, store, maintain, and secure your things, and then get rid of them at the end of their life cycle. Like, don't we already feel like overworked and financially exhausted? How could we imagine owning the things that we hardly use? How much better for them to live in a shared resource hub, accessible just for when you need them, a space that frees you from the burden of ownership. Let's talk about motivation. Did you know there was a study that came out from the UK that put the feeling of visiting a public library as equivalent to receiving a $2,500 pay raise? Now, gee, what dollar value do you think would be equivalent to accessing all of the tools that you ever needed for your home renovations or your garden restorations? And what if it's not just tools? What if it's kitchen appliances, bicycles, or it's maybe camping equipment, like a camping stove on which you cook some delicious food while you're on the trail? 18 months into our project in Toronto, and 8,000 tool loans later, at our tool library, we're giving access to over 3,000 tools at 2 city locations for $50. And Toronto gave us a standing ovation. They were elated. But many people said, of course we're going to share tools now. How have we not been doing this whole time? The beauty of a tool library is that just by responding to a market incentive, that of your wallet, you are participating in part of the beautiful solution. You are empowering those power tools to reach their full potential, and in doing so, they help you reach yours. Let me give you an example here. You really don't need to own a saw. You just need to make one piece of wood into 2. You don't need to own a drill. You just need to put a hole in a wall. This is Emily. Let's say she needs a staple gun. She goes to her local resource hub, her local tool library, takes out that staple gun, brings it home, uses it, and returns it. Done. That's it. That's the whole process. And you know this because you know what a library is, and it is not a giant leap to go beyond borrowing books. Let me share with you a bit about my own story and how this project has helped motivate me to my highest potential. So I was born and raised in Zimbabwe to Argentinian parents. At 18, I moved across the Atlantic to experience the most massive culture shock of my short life and attend college in Canada. After years searching for my place, like years, graduating and working, I realized that I would never find my answers while wrapped in comfort. So I quit my job. I got rid of everything I had sold or given away down to one backpack, and I left the city. I worked on organic farms, I explored Quebec, Sweden, Southern Africa, and I hitchhiked from Toronto to Vancouver. These were electric years, wrapped in chance and reliant on human kindness. This lifestyle really goes against the dominant narrative that you must work at some big business or corporation and climb a ladder in order to get the job of your lifetime. See, right now, you know what my job is? I give away tools, I get high fives, and I make people smile. And because I share, I am wealthy beyond all reason, never wanting for anything, be it a car, a coat, or a coffee maker. And a big part of the sharing economy, as I'm describing it, is preparing for tomorrow. A large percentage of the users of our tool libraries are under the age of 15. We want to teach them how to do woodworking, how to use Arduino, build robots, things that aren't in their curriculum but are now more important than ever. For we are all makers at heart, and the mini-makers are tomorrow's innovators. Their imaginations need these spaces in which to play. They are going to build tomorrow's world. And I want them to know how to measure twice and cut once, and that cut not to include any of their fingers. And as a quick aside, I'm actually personally quite useless with tools. However, because I have friends who are good with tools, I maintain all 10 of mine. I want to tell you about 2 of those friends, people who have used the tool library to animate their lives. First, this is Michelle. Michelle is a teacher from Chicago. She has taken her trade all around the world, and she decided to further her education in Toronto. But in doing so, she lost her community. When she found out that we were opening a tool library in her neighborhood, she was there every renovation day, helping us throw up drywall, pull wire, and put paint on the walls. And the paint had not even dried when Michelle was able to combine her passion for making with her passion for teaching, and she's now the youth program coordinator at the Toronto Tool Library. She is a strong example of the power of community and the power of pursuing your dreams. Our second story takes place inside our makerspace, which is an innovation hub and a prototyping studio. We give in-house access and the training to use a full wood shop, laser cutter, and 3D printers. This is Adam. He's one of my best buddies, and he helped us build both tool libraries. 3 projects Adam is working on right now. He recently completed an open source charge controller for his solar panels. He prototyped a wind turbine blade, which he intends to use to cast more, and used an open source laser cutter called a laser saw, and an open source 3D printer called a RepRap to prototype his own kind of solar collector. Adam is a ninja. He is a tool ninja, and he is a teacher. And his projects are informed by our collective concern for our future energy needs. Now, the value in teaching is that it makes ideas open source. And we know that dynamic community hubs, as I've just described them, will forever be animated by supportive collectives who understand the value of shared knowledge. And the value in that concept is that we do not reinvent the wheel. We all learn from our mistakes, and together we stand on the shoulders of the giants of those who came before us. This is a good segue to talk about our larger goals here. Why share? Why drive an economy based around reusing, upcycling, recycling? Why share information, skills, and ideas? Well, what is the goal? Is the goal to look after all the humans and the world that we share? Is our goal to look forward 100 years at what our big future family is going to use to build their lives with? And does our goal, please include a very serious reevaluation of what it means to need something? Because how we answer those questions is going to determine our direction. And how we look beyond our generation is going to determine whether we are a turning point or an end point. Because when you scale it out and you see the whole Earth as this giant, amazing, beautiful home that we all share, and we play this game of civilizations on, drawing our lines, you take that vantage point and you come back down to Earth and you look at some of our basic practices. Like how we limit access to life-saving technologies because of patent and copyright, which is paper, pen, and the promise of a punishment when we know that universal access to information allows us to progress quicker. What about ruthless competition, when we know that collaboration is just as powerful and infinitely more kind? And look no further than planned obsolescence, the crown jewel of consumption, where things are intentionally made to break down. And false scarcity, this idea that there isn't enough to go around, and therefore, in this game of musical chairs, someone is going to be left standing. These old stories hold back innovation. In the new economy, we share the world. But let's be clear, this is serious business. These goals are not going to come about with complacency and this idea that someone else is going to do it, because you can participate now. The sharing economy is going to continue to grow, to permeate every facet of our society. From the movie cinema, where you share the space and the experience, to the car that stops to pick you up for a few short blocks, to the couch in a foreign land where you rest your head, separated by one wall from a new friend. It can absolutely be about hugs, community, togetherness, but this is serious business. There is no planet B, just this amazing solution that involves lightweight living, right to access, and the communal use of the seldom used. And my friends, maybe at the end of all of this information, we decide not to hold our hammers hostage. We say instead, hey there, hammer, I think it's time you started seeing other people. Thank you.